The moment Malik stepped out of the dusty taxi wearing a faded, torn shirt and dragging a dirty sack, his father's world collapsed like a house of cards. The main square of Zaria was decorated as if a governor were visiting. Colorful ribbons hung from the trees, and the smell of spicy jollof rice filled the air. Alhaji Daouda, Malik's father, had spent months preparing for this day. He had told everyone in the neighborhood that his son was the wealthiest businessman in London. He had bragged at the mosque, at every wedding, and even to the street vendors. "My son Malik is coming," he would say, puffing out his chest. "He is bringing enough gold to pave our streets. He is the pride of Zaria." Because of these stories, the local council had promised to make Alhaji Daouda the chairman of the community. It was a position of great honor. But as Malik walked toward the family compound, looking like a man who hadn't eaten in weeks, the music stopped. The drummers let their sticks fall. The women in their expensive lace outfits stared in horror. The billionaire son looked like a beggar. The black taxi sped away, leaving Malik standing in the red dust of Zaria. His clothes were stained, and his shoes had holes. He held a Ghana must-go bag that was tied with a rope. Alhaji Daouda stood at the front of the crowd, his face turning from bright red to a ghostly pale white. He had spent his life savings on the party, expecting Malik to arrive in a convoy of armored cars. "Baba, I am home," Malik said, his voice low. Alhaji Daouda didn't move. He didn't hug him. Instead, he stepped back as if Malik were a ghost. "Who is this? This cannot be my son. My son is a king. You are a disgrace." Malik's mother, Zainab, rushed forward, but she stopped when she saw the state of his clothes. She began to cry, but they weren't tears of joy. Behind her, Malik's brothers, Yusuf and Sadiq, looked away in shame. They had already told their friends they would be getting new iPhones and cars today. "I was deported, Baba," Malik explained to the silent crowd. "I lost everything. All I have left is what is in this bag." A loud laugh broke the silence. It was Chief Ibrahim, a rival of Alhaji Daouda. "So this is your billionaire, the one who was going to build a hospital for us? He looks like he needs a hospital himself." Soon the whole square was filled with the sound of cruel laughter. That evening, inside the large house Malik's money had actually built years ago, Alhaji Daouda was screaming. He didn't care if Malik was hungry or tired. "You have killed me," Alhaji roared. "The council took back the chairman title. They called me a liar. Why did you come back like this? You should have stayed away if you were going to be a failure." Malik sat quietly on a wooden stool. "I am still your son, Baba. Isn't my life worth more than a title?" "No," his father shouted. "A son who brings shame is no son at all. Do not sleep in the main house. Go to the boys' quarters." For the next week, Malik lived in a small, hot room. He watched as the people he used to help turned their backs on him. He had once sent money for his cousin's wedding and paid for his neighbor's surgery. When he walked to the market, those same people pointed and whispered, "Look at the London big boy. The bigger the pride, the harder the fall." Malik realized that as long as he had money, he had friends. Now that he appeared poor, he was invisible. Yusuf and Sadiq refused to speak to their brother. "You promised to take us to Europe," Yusuf grumbled one night. "We told everyone we were leaving next month. Now we are the laughingstock of Zaria." Even his mother, Zainab, though she brought him food, she did it in secret. She was too afraid of Alhaji Daouda's anger. "Malik, why couldn't you just stay successful?" she asked, her eyes full of disappointment. Malik realized even his mother's love was tied to his success. One afternoon, Malik went to a small kiosk to buy bread. The owner refused to give him credit. "We don't serve losers," the woman said. "I will pay for him," a soft voice said. Malik turned to see Halima, a girl from the next street. She was a simple schoolteacher. Years ago, Malik had anonymously paid for her brother's university fees. She didn't know it was him, but she saw a human being in need. Halima began to visit Malik at the boys' quarters. She brought him home-cooked meals and books to read. She didn't ask about London or money. She asked about his heart. "They are all wrong about you," she told him one evening. "A man is not what he wears. He is what he does for others when no one is watching." Malik felt a spark of hope. For the first time, someone liked him for him. To the horror of his father, Malik took a job at a construction site nearby. He was seen carrying heavy bags of cement and mixing sand. The news spread through Zaria like a wildfire.
Al-Haji Daouda's son is a laborer, people shouted. Al-Haji Daouda locked himself in his room, too ashamed to see the sun. He told everyone Malik was dead to him. What no one knew was that the massive mansion being built at the edge of the city, the one Malik was actually working at, actually belonged to him. He wasn't a laborer, he was the owner, testing his community. He spent his nights in a finished room of the mansion, checking his bank accounts. He was still a billionaire, but the pain of his father's rejection was more than any money could fix. One evening, Malik took Halima to the construction site. He showed her the beautiful interior, the marble floors, and the golden chandeliers. "Halima, I have a secret," he said, showing her his phone. Her eyes went wide when she saw the balance, 800 million naira. "I am not poor. I wanted to see who would love me if I had nothing. You are the only one who passed the test." "I want you to be my wife," Malik said. "But we will keep this secret until the wedding day. I want to see how far my family's pride will go." Halima, crying with shock, agreed. She didn't care about the money. She was just happy he wasn't suffering. When Malik told his father he was marrying Halima, Al-Haji laughed bitterly. "A beggar marrying a poor teacher? Don't expect a kobo from me. Don't even use my name for the invitation." His brothers mocked him too. "We won't be there to see this circus," Sadiq said. The wedding morning arrived. Suddenly, a fleet of 30 white Range Rovers and Mercedes entered Zaria. The police cleared the roads. Important men in expensive suits stepped out. The destination? The new mansion. The villagers stood with their mouths open. "Who is the owner?" they asked. Malik emerged from the lead car. He was no longer wearing rags. He wore a stunning, custom-made white agbada with gold embroidery. He looked like a prince. Beside him was Halima, looking like a queen in a dress that cost more than most houses in the village. Al-Haji Daouda and the village elders rushed to the mansion, pushing through the crowd. "That's my son," Al-Haji shouted, but the security guards stopped him. "Your name is not on the list, sir," the guard said coldly. Malik had given orders. Only those who helped him when he was poor were allowed in. Inside, the party was legendary. Halima's parents were treated like royalty. Malik gave Halima's brother a new car and a job. Outside, his father and brothers watched through the iron bars of the gate, weeping with regret. After the ceremony, Malik walked to the gate. The music stopped. "Baba," Malik said, his voice cold, "you told me a son who brings shame is no son at all. When I needed a father, you gave me a title. When I needed a home, you gave me the boys' quarters." Al-Haji Daouda fell to his knees. "Malik, I am sorry. I was blinded by pride." "I am leaving for the city today," Malik announced. "I have bought a house for my mother and sisters because they showed a little kindness. But as for you, Baba, and my brothers, you can stay here with your pride. The chairman title won't keep you warm at night." Malik left Zaria that evening. Al-Haji Daouda returned to his house, but it felt like a grave. His wife was gone to the city, his daughters were gone. He sat in his fancy parlor, but there was no one to brag to. He was the chairman of an empty home. In the city, Malik and Halima lived a life of peace. Malik learned that money can buy a house, but only character can build a home. In Zaria, the story of the beggar billionaire is still told to every child, a reminder that you should never look down on a man unless you are helping him up. In the weeks following Malik's departure, the dust in Zaria seemed to settle with a heavy, suffocating weight. Al-Haji Daouda's compound, once the center of noise and boasting, became a tomb of silence. The villagers no longer gathered at his gate to hear stories of wealth. Instead, they walked on the other side of the road, whispering about the man who traded his son for a title he never even received. Al-Haji Daouda spent his days sitting on his porch, staring at the empty street. He realized that the leather chairs and the Italian tiles meant nothing without the sound of his children's laughter. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Malik's face, not the face of the billionaire son.
In the white agbada, but the face of the beggar he had rejected. The shame was a physical pain in his chest, a constant reminder that he had failed the ultimate test of fatherhood. In the city of Abuja, Malik's mother, Zainab, found herself in a world she had only seen in movies. The mansion Malik had given her was a paradise of green gardens and cool marble, but her heart was torn. She loved the comfort, and she was grateful to her son, but she missed her husband. She sat with Malik one evening as the sun set over the city skyline. "Malik," she began softly, "your father is a broken man. I see it in his eyes when he calls." Malik looked at his mother, his expression unreadable. "He chose his pride, Mama. He didn't just reject me, he rejected the idea of me being human without money." Zainab sighed, knowing her son was right, but the bond of 40 years of marriage was hard to break. Back in Zaria, Yusuf and Sadiq were discovering that the world is very cold when you have no shadow to hide under. Without Malik's money flowing into the house, their lifestyle changed overnight. They could no longer afford the expensive clothes and the nights out that made them feel important. Their friends, the same ones who mocked Malik, now mocked them. "Where is the London money now?" the boys at the local canteen would sneer. Yusuf and Sadiq realized they had been just as guilty as their father. They had seen Malik as a bank, not a brother. One night, they sat in the dark living room, the electricity gone because they couldn't pay the bill. "We were fools," Sadiq whispered. "We had a brother who loved us, and we threw him away for a dream of Europe." Halima settled into her new life as Malik's wife with a grace that surprised everyone. She didn't let the wealth change her. She continued to support education, opening a foundation for children in the city. One night, she saw Malik looking at an old photo of his family. She walked over and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Malik, justice is good, but peace is better," she said. Malik looked up at her. "They don't deserve my peace, Halima." She smiled sadly. "Forgiveness isn't about what they deserve, it's about not letting their mistakes stay in your heart forever." Alhaji Dauda could no longer take the isolation. One morning, without telling anyone, he sold his prized old Mercedes, the last symbol of his former status, to buy a bus ticket to Abuja. He didn't have an invitation, and he didn't know if he would be allowed past the gate, but he knew he couldn't die in Zaria with this weight on his soul. The journey was long and bumpy. As the bus moved through the Nigerian landscape, Alhaji Dauda thought about Malik as a little boy running through the red dust. He remembered when Malik first left for London, how he had prayed for his safety. Somewhere along the way, he had stopped praying for his son's soul and started praying only for his son's success. He wept silently against the window, a man who had finally found his heart after losing everything else. When Alhaji Dauda arrived at the gates of Malik's Abuja estate, the security guards recognized him. They had been told never to let him in. "Please," the old man begged, his voice trembling. "I don't want money. I don't want a room. I just want to tell my son I am sorry before the sun goes down." The guards called the house. Malik was in the middle of a business meeting when the intercom buzzed. He listened to the guard's report. His first instinct was to say no. But he looked at Halima, who was sitting across the room, watching him with calm, expectant eyes. "Let him in," Malik said, his voice cracking. Alhaji Dauda entered the parlor, looking smaller than Malik remembered. The arrogance was gone. The chest that used to swell with pride was now sunken. He didn't look at the expensive furniture or the art on the walls. He walked straight to Malik and fell to his knees. The silence in the room was like a physical weight. "I am not here as a chief," Alhaji Dauda sobbed, his head bowed. "I am here as a sinner. I treated you like a product, not a person. If you never give me a kobo, I will understand. If you never call me father again, I deserve it. But please, Malik, do not let me die knowing my son hates me." Malik stood over him, the memories of the village square rushing back. But as he looked down at his father's shaking shoulders, the anger began to leak out of him, replaced by a strange, heavy pity. Malik reached down and gripped his father's arms, pulling him to his feet. He didn't hug him yet, but he didn't turn away. "Sit down, Baba," Malik said quietly. They talked for hours, not about money, but about the years they had lost to greed and expectations. Malik realized that his father was a victim of a culture that valued face above all else, though it didn't excuse his cruelty. He decided that he would not bring his father to live in the mansion yet. Trust had to be rebuilt like a wall, one brick at a time. "I will pay for a small house for you here in the city, Baba.
You will be near us, but you must learn to live as a simple man again." Word reached Yusuf and Sadiq that their father had been received. Humiliated and desperate, they too made the trip, but Malik was firmer with them. "You are young men," Yusuf said as they stood nervously in his office. "You wanted the fruit without planting the tree. I will not give you cars and I will not take you abroad yet." Instead, Malik gave them a challenge. He funded a small business for them in a different city, a grocery store. "Work it for 2 years. Show me you can be honest and hard-working when no one is looking." The brothers, seeing the seriousness in Malik's eyes, realized the billionaire brother was gone. In his place was a man of steel and wisdom. A year later, the Morrison family gathered for a small dinner at Malik's home. It wasn't a grand party with 300 people, it was just family. Al-Haji Daouda sat at the table, no longer wearing the flashy robes of a chief, but a simple, clean tunic. He spent his time playing with Malik and Halima's new baby son. Malik looked around the table. He saw his mother smiling, his sisters talking about their studies in London, and his father finally at peace. He realized the test was for him too. He had tested their love, but he had also tested his own ability to forgive. The red dust of Zaria was far away, but the lessons learned there would last a lifetime. He had lost his pride, but he had found his family. And in the end, that was the only wealth that mattered. African Tales by Marie Chi. Please like, comment, and share this video for others to watch. Thank you for watching.